I am an extremely passionate and committed human services professional who possesses an in-depth working knowledge of the psychological and sociological aspects of human development. I consider myself to be a cognitive behavioral specialist, believing that making a change in how one thinks brings about a change in what one does. Many shy away from therapy because they feel their situations are either unique or they are fearful, embarrassed, or ashamed to let others know they need help. SciSpot is my way of corralling pertinent personal, professional, and academic information on understanding human development in one place for all to access privately and even share with others. My personal mission statement is, I am driven by divine precepts and an undying passion to facilitate change in the lives of others. What's yours? Let SciSpot guide you through your healing and provide you with many other ways of becoming better today than you were yesterday. Come on in and join me.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Bear with me here for a second while I make some slight adjustments on the microphone. We don't want that to be an interference, because sometimes that can become a problem. All right, hold your horses, hold your horses. All right, here we go. Okay, good morning, and welcome to SciSpot. Hey, Carol, tell Diamond I said hello and tell I love her and tell her to get well soon, right? Good morning and welcome to SciSpot. I was outside inhaling some of the beautiful, beautiful weather that we're having this morning. It's like 62 right now. Wow. I thought it was a little cooler, but I've been dug into the bedroom, for the last 3 days, just resting and, hydrating myself and doing all those things. So, I got a little caught up in the moment. So anywho, listen, it's Sunday morning. It's 9 o'clock. For those of you who forgot, right, spring forward. And I'm sure that you're probably thinking like, oh man, I am not getting up. I still got that hour. I'm just going to stay here. But check this out. Here in the state of Florida, right, they passed a bill. They passed this, it's law now. We will no longer be participating in that daylight savings time crap, right? We have sprung forward. We're going to stay forward, right? That's the good thing about Florida. Florida is always moving forward with something. Whether you agree or disagree, that's how we ride here in Florida. So we're always moving forward. So effective right now, there will be no more springing forward in the state of Florida. This is it. We're going to stay forward. So for the rest of y'all, right, catch up, because we're moving forward. It's a great day to be alive, another day. You like that cup, huh? Teachers have class. You're super. Teachers, not marshals. They're teachers. We don't need guns in the schools at all. Let me make that statement first. Take the guns out of school, because it's going to turn into something really ugly, and we don't need teachers to have guns in school. Meanwhile, back at the ranch. So, over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be making a lot of changes in regards to how the studio space is set up here for me, because I'm in between shooting the film, Why Are You My Ex? So I'm finalizing all those things, got some extra shots I have to do, some more work I'm doing on that. So I'm kind of shifting from one studio space to another space, because I don't want to have the same backgrounds and the same, it's just not, the stage set is different. So it's a lot of moving back and forth. So I'll be finishing up hopefully within the next couple of weeks, shooting the film Why Are You My Ex? If I'm not, I'm going to take my time, because I want it to be very tight. I want it to be very informative. It's going to be points in the film where you're going to laugh, points in the film you're going to cry, points in the film you're going to look at yourself a whole lot differently, and that is really my hope, that you begin to see yourself in a different light, not somebody else, because it comes down to you have to understand you. Everything that happens to us, is internalized and it's absorbed in many different ways, but it's our course. It is our course. It's our path. It's who we are. So when we're with someone else, right, it's easy to point fingers at the other person. Tell the other person it's them. It's them. Well, listen, it's no doubt that it's something that they're doing, something that we're doing to trigger things within one another. And that's what we have to understand. We are always triggering something in one another. We really are. But it's how you deal with those things that's most important, right? Because the first basic thing that you have to understand in any relationship is that if you are not talking about those things that are happening, if you're not seeking to bring resolve to those things that are happening, it's a good chance that they're going to keep happening. And guess what? There's going to be times when you talk about it and that behavior is still going to continue to show up. So you're going to have to make some decisions about things, right? You are going to have to make some decisions about things. And a lot of times we become indecisive because we get complacent, because we get comfortable, because it's familiar, because it's easier, right? And we stay and we continue to deal with the same stuff over and over again, and we're not happy. But then we tell ourselves we want to be happy. We tell ourselves we need to be happy. We get into an argument with our partner and say, I'm not happy. Ooh, did you just say that? Now we got another fight on our hands. Oh, I'm not making you happy. Well, somebody's making you happy. And I'm not just mocking a woman's tone, because men do the same exact thing. Men do the same exact thing. We get in our feelings about stuff, and, you know, a woman tell us that she's not happy, you know, like, well, oh, you got somebody else? It ain't even always about that, right? But when you make a statement such as that, saying that you're not happy, what are you doing? What are you doing? What steps have you taken, right, to have some dialogue with that person about what's going on? What steps have you taken? Or are you just sitting in your feelings, sitting in that stuff, being resentful, right? Because see, when you're resentful, when you carry resentments, right, they turn into other negative things. See, because see, resentment has a lot of cousins. Really. Fear, anger, hostility, right? Destructive behaviors, right? Very destructive behaviors, right? Just, it's like cancer, just eating away at the relationship, because that's where you are. How do you resent somebody for something they said or did? Oh, we've all done it. Let's be real about that. We've all done it. But resentments hold us hostage, not the other person. It's like, you know, it's like walking, you know what? Resentments are like pissing on yourself. Don't nobody feel it but you. You walk around, your panties all in the bunch. I mean, male, drawers, all in the bunch. You know, it's irritating you behind. It's gnawing at you behind. You know, it just changes your whole attitude. That's what it is. Think about it. Think about it. But yet and still, you do this, and you do it all in the name of love. That's scary. Now that's scary. You love me, but you're resentful of me. So instead of bringing resolve to your resentment, you carry it. Therefore, every time you're confronted about one of your less endearing traits, you use that resentment, right, as a defense mechanism. So you keep reaching back for that. And when you do that, you're only showing where you want to hold on to it. You're reinforcing that resentment within yourself. You're only showing that you don't want to bring any resolve to the issue. That's what you're doing. Because that's all you got. It's like taking a knife to a gunfight. Really, think about it. That's all you have. It's like it's a laughable moment. But it's not like a ha-ha funny laughable moment. It's a moment like, are you serious? You mean to tell me you're still holding on to that? But how many of us have done it? How many of us are doing it now? And still telling our partner how much they love them. But is that love? Not my kind of love. That's sick. So anywho, Today's show is on 6 tough decisions, right, that you need to make before leaving your relationship. Now, the article has a different title, and I'll read you the article because the article is specific to marriage. But because marriage is at such an all-time low, I may as well just say relationship. Right? But it's laughable when I tell you I've been married 4 times. It's laughable. Right? That out of 6 relationships, I married 4 of them. That's laughable to you. But how many times have you been married, and how many relationships have you had and been in and out of? So I get the last laugh, right? Believe that. Because of the value that I have for marrying. Because of the value that I have for marrying. And understanding the significance and importance of marriage. Right? Again, it's not a judgment call. This is for those of you who passed judgment upon me. Who made me the laughing stock of your conversations at the dinner table. Right? Think about it. So let's go to the article, because I'm fired up now. I just did me a nice brewed cup of some Java, and I'm ready to go. Okay, so here we are. The title of the article is 6 tough questions you must ask before leaving your marriage. Right? Before leaving your marriage. Now, anybody who knows me knows, if you know me, I am impulsive. Right? Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I can be impulsive. I am impulsive. Right? See, when you start saying that you can be something, we all can be something. Right? We all can be. We are all capable of. So let's get that out the way. Right? You want to stay in your denial, you can. I choose not to. I am not in denial. I am impulsive. I have learned to manage being as impulsive, but I am impulsive. Right? Hence the reason, again, why I hasten to marry, because it's written for me to hasten to marry. But then, when I don't allow myself the privilege of thinking things through, when I turn a blind eye to things that I shouldn't turn a blind eye to, right? When I don't speak about things that need to be spoken to, when I don't make a decision in that moment, when I see that particular behavior, to walk out, to walk away, to say, that's it. That's on me, right? And when you're impulsive, you find yourself in those circumstances. So that's why I tell people, absolutely, I've been married 4 times, right? My success rate has not been so good, but at the end of the day, what did I learn from all of that? What did I learn from each one of those marriages? Because you take something away from each one of them. We like to say that each one of them took something from us, right? And I've learned, I've learned through these 4 marriages that I got something from each one. We like to often say that, well, if the marriage took so much from me, sure, it can be draining emotionally, it can be draining spiritually, it can be, draining mentally, right? It can be very draining, and it takes something out of you. But you know what? Think about how much you labor for anything that you truly want, truly need, how much you labor for it, and the pain and the suffering that goes along with it. Even like the fatigue. Like for me to get a degree, I had to go to school. I had sleepless nights. I had to do all-nighters and then go right to work. Just think about it. Just think about it if you're growing a garden, the hours you spend out in the garden, tilling the land, just making sure all the nutrients and things are in that soil to have a good stock come up out of that ground. So, it's the same way with marriages, man. Right? Each one of these marriages that I've been through, right? I've gotten a piece, in some cases multiple pieces of knowledge and understanding of self that, is very significant to my continued growth and development. right? So I got something out of each one of them, man. I learned a lot of things from each one of them. I really did. And I can tell you this, from where I come from the street life that I was living, right? Love, compassion, empathy, those kind of things were not permitted. They weren't permitted. They were not. You stuff that stuff. You move on. You take it on the chin. Don't you sit. Right? So, you know, it was difficult, you know, making that transition, you know, to not just take advantage of situations. Because that's what street life does for you. It conditions you. It's all about you. It's all about you. So when I made that transition to change how I was living by God's grace and mercy, right? I was blessed to have an opportunity to get it together, right? I started changing how I did business with women, right? I started caring. Even if we were just sleeping together, I started caring. I started doing a lot of things different. I started taking more time to discuss things, to talk about things. And even though I found myself in relationships where communication just wasn't good, it was something that I was good at, and it was something that I found to be significant. But for some, that's a challenge. And then I become a challenge for them. So I started looking at things about myself that I needed to get rid of, and things of myself that I needed to keep, because you were in disagreement with it. Because the part of that self of mine was in disagreement with you. Per you, didn't mean that I had to change it. Didn't mean that I have to change it. Right? No. It doesn't mean that. It means I should look at it. But when you look at the entire circumstance, when you paint the whole picture of something that happened between you and the other person, paint the whole picture. And if you're being honest about your own ill conduct, then you'll see what happened. But not only that, once you see what happened, the question then becomes, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? First, how can I help you? Is second. Because you have to be willing to do something about that behavior. If a person is not willing to address their behavior, it's nothing you can do to change it. I said that in the last show. I'm going to say it to you now. If a person does not want to change, they're not going to change no matter what you put on the table. No matter what ultimatum you give them. No matter what it is that you do. So if you got to pack and roll, pack and roll. Ain't no sense in delaying it. Because all you're doing is delaying the inevitable. Because it's going to continue. Because that person just is not ready. And then we break up. We separate. And we get back together. Because we made all these dumb promises to one another. The same promises we made before that didn't work. We make the same dumb promises. Right? And enter right back into it. Knowing that the person did no work on that. How do you know they did work on it? How many conversations did you have on that particular behavior? And where did they go seek help from? You got to think about a lot of things. So this list of 6 tough questions that you must ask before. Must and before are really important. You must ask these questions before leaving your marriage. And that's what this is. So I'm focusing on leaving your relationship once again, because folks just ain't getting married. And again, it's no judgment, but I'm going to call it like it is. I'm going to call it like it is. And it's a variety of reasons why people are not getting married. I don't know what they may be, but anywho. So, there's no easy way, right, to know when to leave. But there is an easier way. At one time or another, almost every married person, right, I'm at the article now, I know, including my husband and me, has questioned whether or not to call it quits. Okay, and this you know what, this statement in itself speaks volumes. Let me read it again. At one time or another, almost every married person I know, this is from the article, including my husband and me, has questioned whether or not to call it quits. Every married person that she knows, to include herself and her own husband. This is important to understand, folks. It's important to understand. Because people tend to just jump ship, bail ship, like it's nothing. Like this is a girlfriend-boyfriend relationship. Every married couple has been to the point at some time or another. Some have been there more than once as to whether they want to continue to do this. Marriage is not easy. Marriage takes work. Relationships take work. But if you're not working on you, how the hell can you work on somebody else? Think about it. How the hell are you going to work on somebody else? How the hell are you going to sit down and tell somebody else what they need to do to get their life right when yours is in total disarray, total shambles? Come on. We do this together. Okay? Back to the article. It's an incredibly painful question to ask yourself because the only way to answer it is to dig down deep. Way past the superficial crap, right? You can't, this is not a surface job. You got to dig down. And it goes back to me talking about, you got to be honest. You know, if you see that you're losing a person, right? And you're being superficial, you're not addressing your own stuff, but you're letting the person just kind of dwindle away, just slip through your fingers because you don't want to be honest about your own behavior, and you don't want to be honest about the fact that you're struggling with changing this behavior, and you don't want to be honest about the fact that it really has been you that has kept this relationship, this marriage from blossoming. You don't want to say that because then that means that you have to take ownership, and the part of the greatest problems in most relationships is people rather play ping pong than take ownership for their own stuff. And when one partner takes ownership and the other one doesn't, right, it's no longer a ping pong match. Now it's just a bashing match because everything I throw at you to try to help get things to work, every time I throw something to you, like, yo, you see what just happened? You take that paddle and you smash it in my face because you don't want to hear what's being said. So now you're defensive and you're guarded and you say things back. It goes back to the resentment. Remember that? That I talked about earlier on, the resentment? So you never get any resolve. Every marriage, anytime you put two people together in the same space, you're going to have some challenges. And if you're not built like that, if you're not ready for that, don't get in a damn marriage. Don't get in a damn relationship. Period. I'm just telling you the way it is. Don't. Because what happens is, the next person has to come along and deal with the residue of that failed relationship. The next person got to come along and deal with that. Okay. So we talk about getting past superficial hurts. Back to the article. And for most of us, there's no black and white answer about whether you're ready to leave your marriage or not. There are just too many things to weigh and consider as you figure out what's best for you and your kids. You and your kids. At its heart, your question is really about values, respect, and what you fundamentally want for your life. No one besides you will know how to answer this question. No one besides you can adequately answer this question. You have to answer this question. However, sometimes by looking at your marriage from different angles, you gain clarity. You can gain clarity. You got to look at it from different angles, right? And I tell you, one of the things that I always tell people, write stuff down. Stop trying to do trigonometry in your head, because that's what you're doing. Stop trying to do it in your head. Write it down. So if you're trying to look at this relationship from different angles so you can get clarity, right? Do that. Now, this is not even in the article, but I'm going to add this as the first thing. The first thing, before you start going down this list of questions, these 6 questions that you must ask before leaving, first thing I'm going to tell you is this. Take love out of the whole equation. Take love off the table. Love is not even in this discussion. Love has nothing to do with this. I'm going to tell you. I don't care what's in this list. And I haven't even read the whole list. I glanced over it. But let me tell you this. When you have to make a decision as to whether you're staying or going, the first thing you tell yourself is, but I love that person. But I love her. But I love him. That's not the question. And when we get to these points in our relationships, that's the first thing we latch on to. How much you love that person. How much I just love her. I just, I can't see myself. That's who I love. That's not the question. That's not even the question, whether you still love me or not, whether I still love you or not. That is not even the question. There's no doubt whatsoever that we love each other. No doubt. But you have to understand, right, that it takes more than love to keep us together. Because you can just love the idea of me, right? You can just love the idea of it. And sure, over time you came to love me as a person. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about things that are significant to the stabilization and the foundation of a continued relationship. Right? Because I can love you enough to walk away from you and still love you. Anybody who sits down and says that they no longer love their ex, it would have to have been something that was serious that caused that relationship to break up, for them not to have any love for that person. Each one of those relationships, each one of those marriages, I loved them, or I wouldn't have been with them. But the love is much different. It's not like love that's lingering love. It's not lingering love. But you love them. I loved them. So it doesn't disappear. Like everything else that happens in life, it remains. And when you see that person, you try to remember, the goodness of them. If you see a person who was harmful towards you, that's what when you see them, that's what you see them as. But it's not the kind of love that you should be intimidated by, bothered by, or disturbed by in any capacity. It was what it was. It was what it was. And I've moved on. But if that's what you want to latch on to and you want to use that, that's your insecurity. That's a whole different realm we've entered into now. Right? So let's go to the list. Number 1 on the list. Well, I hate to start right, hey, listen, I always say go hard in the paint, so we're going to go hard in the paint. How is your sex life? Oh, yeah. How is your sex life? Sex is an important part of marriage, and back to the article. At its best, sex is a bearing and sharing of both bodies and souls. At its worst, it's just another chore to either do or ignore. The 2 most concerning sexual problems to have are these. The first one, you feel trapped, scared, or sad when you think about sex with your spouse and you're not in a sexually abusive situation. The next thing on that list, you've not had sex for a really long time. Think a year or more without medical restrictions, despite wanting and asking for it. In and of themselves, neither of these problems necessitate the need to divorce, but they are most definitely situations that you must address. If your sex life isn't what you want it to be, this is a golden opportunity for you to reach out and get help. You don't have to continue to live like this. You deserve better, and I can help you find the path to getting there. This is from the article. So, let's go back to the first sentence. At its best, sex is a bearing and sharing of both bodies and souls. I want you to kind of let that marinate for me. Yeah, let it marinate for a minute. Right? Bodies and souls. Right? Two different things. One object that has multiple facets. Let me help you understand it. Multiple facets. Right? When I physically engage in sex with you, right, there are a lot of things happening. A lot of things. There are a lot of things going through your mind, your ideas, your ideals, your fantasies, right? What you think about what's happening right now. You know, if this is an encounter that it was long awaited, you know, what you're emotionally feeling right now. Right? How I'm touching you. Right? All of those things are going on, right? And then your body is reacting. Right? You're having those uncontrollable orgasms and all kind of everything else. Your body, you're just shaking, and it's just like sheer pleasure. And, well, I mean, just saying, if that's what's happening. I'm just trying to give you a visual here. Right? But all these things are going on. Right? But then what's happening to your spirit? What's happening to your soul? Right? Because you can get lost in that good feeling and what's happening right now. But where is your mind? See, I was just talking about all the brain signals, but what's happening in your mind? Right? Because your mind is the protector of your spirit. That's why when people lose their mind, when people fall into, you know, psychological or psychiatric conditions, right, that their whole being changes. What's happening with your spirit? Right? Because you can have somebody enter into you, or you can enter into someone, and they can deeply alter your spirit because you made that connection. Right? So, you can feel it, man. Where this is just a hit. That's all it is. It's just a hit, and you feel that. And if one is feeling, thinking, believing otherwise, expecting otherwise, right? And the other is doing something different because they got a whole nother agenda. So I'm just here to hit it. You here to fulfill a fantasy, a dream come true. You feel that in your spirit. And like I told you, when you live in an unspirited, a life void of spirituality, spiritual values and things like that, that's all you're doing. You just hitting it. And we got a lot of that just hitting it going on. Right? And again, no judgment. I'm just merely saying that that's the kind of stuff that you have to look at, because that stuff affects your spirit. It affects your spirit. And somewhere along the line, when you want to move away from that kind of lifestyle and you want to enter into another one, it becomes difficult because you kind of vacillate back and forth. Because in a lot of ways it was fun. It's enjoyable, it's satisfying. Because that's what you want. You want to be satisfied. But on the other side of it, when you're trying to regain control of that aspect of self and you want to be pleasurable just to your partner, right? You want to move into connecting the spirits, the souls. You want to move into that realm, right? And it takes time. So that's what it talks about in here. Like if your sex life isn't what you want it to be, this is a golden opportunity for you to reach out and get help, right? That you don't have to continue to live like this. That you deserve better, and you want to do something about that so you can better connect with your partner. Sit down and work that out with somebody, because you may not feel like you can work that out with your partner. I'm not saying anything wrong about your partner, but this thing is just too deep for you. It's too deep for you, right? And you just got to, babe, I'm trying this, right? So you got to look at those kind of things. Number 2 on the list. Do you still have basic respect for each other? And I'm a big one on respect. I really am. I'm big on respect. I'm big on how you talk to me. I'm big on like how we deal with things together. I'm real big on that. I'm real big on whether or not my feedback and my input is validated, right? Because like if I have something to say, I have something to say, right? And it shouldn't be just brushed off. It shouldn't just be disregarded. It shouldn't be dealt with as, oh, here he go again. If we keep having these same conversations, then there's a reason why we keep having these same conversations. It's got to be a reason for it. Right? It's got to be a reason for it. Because I don't care, listen, I don't care about anything other than what I just said. I care about how you talk to me. I care about how you treat me. If you're in a relationship with me and I'm treating you lovingly, kindly, I'm showing you, respect, I'm doing things that I'm supposed to do as a man, and you turn around and you start acting like I'm some Negro off the street, and you think you can just talk to me any kind of way and just do what you want and all that, then when something is said to you, listen, always remember, you ain't the only one. Always remember that. But I'm real big on, listen, if we have a problem, let's talk about the problem. If we have a problem, right? Because every problem ain't we's problem. Some of these problems are yours. And if you need help, all right, ask for help. If it's pointed out that you're guarded, you're defensive, you're this, you're that, okay, what are you going to do about it? Don't just sit down and say, yes, I am, and then in the same breath rationalize why you just did what you did. That's not taking ownership. I know that I'm sensitive, right? So if you're saying something to me that's coming from you, and, I don't even, listen, I don't even have to be in a relationship with you to be in my feelings about something that I feel as though was an attack upon my integrity. Attack upon who I am. You don't necessarily even have to know me. But just the mere fact that you've said something that I know, right, that is not within me. And again, it goes back to the honesty of self. If somebody says something to you about a behavior and you know that's who you are, that you've heard that before, you've seen yourself do it, it's been pointed out to you, then you know. But for me, listen, I don't treat anybody badly. Nobody can say that I treat them poorly. But somebody will say that when he feels such and such a way, he reacts to it. And so you know that about me. But when it comes to an argument, you won't recognize that. Yeah, I said such and such, and I did such and such, right? And I know that you're sensitive about those kinds of things. I don't like being accused of things I don't do. And that goes back to childhood. That goes back to my childhood. Because I experienced a lot in my childhood where I didn't do a thing and got accused of it. I got my behind whooped for things that I didn't do. I got yelled at and slapped for things that I didn't say or didn't do. Right? So I'm real big on that. That's part of my condition. That's not going to go away. That is not going to go away. Therefore, when you talk to me in a particular manner, right, I'm going to let you know about it, right? And it was a time when I wouldn't let people know about it. I wouldn't say anything about it. I would just let it be, right? So I'm the guy who would sit down and watch Bambi and cry. Yeah. I watched Finding Nemo and cry. The first movie that I watched and I felt myself tear up was Born Free. Yeah, I don't know if y'all look the movie up, Born Free. Very good movie, right? But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. So part of that respect is, listen, you taking a look at you and how you say and do things when it comes to me. Because that's what I'm expected to do. I'm expected to approach you in the same way I want to be approached. Let's put it just like that. You expect from me, but when you don't approach me the way that you want to be approached and something is said about you, got an issue with it. See, that's no mutuality there. There's no mutuality there. If I raise my voice, it's an issue. If you raise your voice, it's validated. Really? If I use profanity in the conversation, you tell me I'm using it at you. That's not cussing you out. Cussing you out will be just that. You this and you, no. That, again, mutuality. But you, when you get angry and you cuss, it's okay. I didn't cuss you out, I just use your word. It's the back and forth. See, there's no mutuality, right? In the level of respect. And people don't realize that's a perception that is very valid coming from the other person, because when you feel you can do things and your partner does the same thing and you lay into them about doing exactly what it is that you do, then it's an issue. There's no mutuality. There's no respect. Because you don't respect me. You don't respect my position. You want me to do a thing in the way that you want me to do it, but you don't do likewise. So, when it talks about here, mutual respect is critical for any successful marriage. Yet there are moments in every marriage, when respect, unfortunately, goes out the window. In every marriage. And again, this has to be understood. You can't just single your partner out and say, well, he's the only one that does this. Nobody does this. Nobody says that to their husband. Nobody says that to their wife. Right? You can't do that. See, you're riding on an idea of marriage, not an ideal. That's why in the Quran, the Torah, the Bible, whatever it tells you how you're supposed to treat one another. It tells you when things go this way, how to get back that way. You go to God. That's why when you take your vows, me, you, and God, period. Because you're going to have trouble. Everybody wants to think that their situation is unique. There are just some common threads that happen in marriage. There are just some common threads that happen when you're in a relationship with another person. You are going to disagree. You are going to say dumb, stupid stuff out of your mouth. You're going to do dumb, stupid stuff. That's what we do. When we're trying to defend ourselves, when we're trying to protect ourselves, when we get in our feelings, when we get angry, we do things, we say things. That's a reality, folks. It's a reality. But you work through it. Back to the article. There might be a serious problem if you feel either of these things to be true. First thing, you've lost all positive feelings for your spouse. All positive feelings for your spouse. Next one. You believe your spouse can do nothing right. Think about it. You've lost all positive feelings for your spouse. And again, that goes back to the first thing on the list, sex. Right? You just go on with the motion. Ain't no feeling there. It's just a chore. It's just a task. It's just like washing the damn dishes. Slap it up, flip it, rub it down. Oh no! Let's just get it done. Right? If respect is lacking in your marriage, you need to know that it is possible to find respect again. It won't show up overnight, and you might need to start with showing yourself some respect. I've helped many people rediscover the respect that their marriage was lacking. Right? Because of the lack of self-respect. And people have to, listen, a lot of people don't understand what it means to have self-respect. Really don't. And you really need to take a look at that. Maybe I'll do a show on self-respect and what that looks like. Because self-respect is more than, I won't go out with my titties out, I won't go out with no shorts on, I won't go out conducting myself like this, I don't do this and I don't do that. Self-respect goes further than that. That's the superficial aspect of self-respect. That's not the internal, deep stuff. Because self-respect is deep. It goes deep, man. But you have to understand yourself first. And not in full, even in part. When you understand things about yourself, you begin to open the door, right, to the idea of the facts. That, yeah, well, if I do this, it's a good chance. Yeah, I mean, look at that. Number 3 on that list. Do you find fault instead of finding solutions? Sometimes it's so much easier to play the blame game than to step up to the plate and admit your part in creating the current situation. It's normal to do this once in a while. But spouses who consistently blame their partner typically do so because they're too self-absorbed, too easily insulted, or simply ignoring the obvious solutions because they're hurt. And resentment runs too deep. Ending the blame game requires one of you to stop playing, get courageous, and change the rules. It is by your willingness to change that you allow your spouse the opportunity to change. Unfortunately, that doesn't mean your spouse will take advantage of the opportunity in the way that you want them to. That's important to understand. Right? Let me say that again. Ending the blame game requires one of you to stop playing. Stop playing the game. Right? Stop playing the blame game. Get courageous and change the rules. Change the rules. Stop. I'm not accepting that anymore. I'm not going to allow myself to get sucked into this one thing that you keep bringing up. Because remember, it goes back to resentments, and it talks about it here. Right? People are so self-absorbed, too easily insulted. It's a difference between being sensitive and being easily insulted. Right? Because I am sensitive to accusations. This is not something perceived, an accusation of wrongness. Right? So I will react to it. An accusation of wrongness. Not just any old thing. An accusation of wrongness. Right? And it's a difference. But people who are too easily insulted, when you say something about their behavior that clearly they acted out on, right? And then they want to flip it and they want to say something about you in regards to what you just said to them. Right? No matter what it is you say or do, it's always insults like, well, why would you say that? Why would I say what? Well, you know, you said such and such. Well, why'd you say it like that? I said what? Right? Or simply ignoring the obvious solution because their hurt and resentment are too deep. Right? So, when you look at changing the rules, you got to start cutting them buttons off. Right? I had to start disconnecting buttons. Right? Because every time you bring up that thing, What you're doing is it's a form of manipulation. Your intent is to stir up feelings. And once you know you stir up feelings, when you keep throwing that out, that diverts from the whole conversation. And that's why it keeps being done. So you learn how to disconnect it. Cut them wires. That ain't gonna work no more. You've been using that too long. It's been months, it's been years, and you still coming up with that same thing. Well, yeah, because you keep reacting to it. Stop reacting to it. Change the rules. Verbalize how those rules are going to change. Right? However, you won't know what's possible if you don't quit finding fault and start finding solutions. You got to start looking for what the solutions are. Right? And if that other person is not willing, then you need to make some decisions. Because that's what this list is about. 6 decisions. Right? That you must look at before leaving your marriage. Number 4, have you developed bad habits? Now, I'm not talking here about the little annoying habits that we've all got. I'm talking about biggies, such as you become just parents instead of remaining lovers and partners. Right? And that's that. You want to understand that too, because here it's talking about marriage. Like I said, my focus is on relationships overall. But when you look at marriage, lovers and partners, lovers and partners, lovers and partners, they both work together. You can't just be lovers. You have to be lovers and partners in marriage. That means that you have to define both. That's why I said love, take that off the table. The next thing on that list is deception, lying, cheating, like feeling the need for a separate, private, secret phone, exist in the relationship, right? So cheating, that's parenthesized, like feeling the need for a separate, private, secret phone. So cheating exists in a relationship. Bad or non-existent communication leads to fighting all the time, or no fighting at all. So bad or non-existent communication that leads to fighting all the time or no fighting at all. Like it's a wrap. I don't even want to talk about it anymore. Right? You don't waste energy in it. You just don't. You've already been that route. You've already fought. You've already gone through all the negativity. You've been through all of it. What are we going to talk about now? It's nothing to talk about. We haven't sought to bring resolve to this situation. And when I say we, I may have, but it's not about I. It's about, have we sat down and talked? So we haven't sought to bring resolve to that. Because it's easy to say, well, I did. I sought to bring resolve to these things. Yeah, I did, but it's not about I. As a partnership, we need to sit down and talk about this. And we haven't done that. We haven't done that. Right? That's what makes it what it is. Back to the list. You maintain a vice-like grip on the bad things that happened in the past and use them as weapons again and again and again. Think about it. And I talked about that earlier. That's what resentments do. Right? You just hold on to that one thing. You have that vice-like grip on that one thing and you hold on to it. Why? What is the benefit of it? What is the benefit of it? All you're doing is punishing a person throughout the entire relationship because you won't let go of that one thing, because that's what you have. That works. That works. And you use it over and over and over again until your partner makes a decision that they're going to disconnect that wire. That it will no longer work. It will no longer work. Right? But they have that vice-like grip on the bad things that happen. Nothing good. The bad things. That's all the focus is on. Right? And that's what you. So every time you try to bring resolve to your current situation, to what's happening right now, and they're at a loss for words, they have an inability to communicate, they have an inability to adequately problem solve, the first thing they reach for is, I got it. Not a problem, okay? Enough of this conversation. Listen, remember when? Ain't nothing else to be said. It diverted everything, it changed the course of everything. Unless that partner has made the decision that listen, that ain't gonna work anymore. Stop using that. And I'm not even going to entertain any further dialogue on it. Or just talk past it like it wasn't said. Because you can't make it matter. Right? Every situation becomes a fight instead of asking how you can fix or deal with this. You're so tired of trying that you just can't force yourself to do so 1 second longer. I'm tired of this. That's where it is. You both refuse to meet each other's needs. Refuse to meet each other's needs. There's a difference between like somebody telling you that you're not, and you haven't tried, and maybe you just don't have it in you to meet those particular needs. But when you just like, man, listen, okay, I'm not going to do it. When they refuse, then that's a different discussion to be had. You're living separate lives where you don't really know or care about what's going on with each other. And that's important to understand. Like I'm going to say this again. You're living separate lives where you don't really know or care about what's going on with each other. See, not knowing, now when we talk about the care, not knowing, when you're living separate lives and you don't know what's happening with that other person, that's dangerous, man. Right? Like the person just comes and goes. You don't know what they're doing, who they're with. You don't know what's going on with them. You don't know what they're thinking about. They're just living their life. Right? They're just living their life. And then when you bring it up, it's conflict and confrontation. Right? But they want to argue with you, debate with you about yours and what it is that you're doing. Well, I don't know what you're doing either. Yeah, but you're accusing me. So if you don't know, how do you become accusatory? Right? So the care, then the other part to it is care. It says or care. Right? Because you can still care about what a person is doing. But why do you care? Do you care because you're insecure? Because you're guilt-ridden yourself? Right? Do you care because you love them? Right? Why do you care? That's why it says that you don't know or care. It's two different things. Right? And that's a terrible space to be in, when you don't know what the other person is doing. When you care so much about what they're doing, right? You don't know what it is they're doing. Y'all live in separate lives. Y'all live in separate homes, right? You have no idea. And it will eat your spirit up. It will. If you let it. You stop communicating about anything substantial. Yeah. Listen. You really want to look at that. Right? That's real important stuff. Luckily, habits can be changed, even the bad ones. And even better, when you change, you encourage your spouse to change their bad habits too. Right? Yet changing habits takes work and awareness that most of us don't naturally possess. If we did, we would have already changed our habits. Again, if somebody's pointing it out to you, look at it. Take a look at it. Ask yourself some questions about that behavior. Right? Because it can be changed. But you have to want to change it. You have to want to look at it. You have to be willing to do something different so you can establish a foundation of trust, honesty. I'm just messing up words today. Trust, honesty, right? Those are very important in a relationship, right? Because once you begin to expose yourself and you begin to have dialogue about that area of self that has been presenting as being a problem, right? Then you can start seeing like the light for other things that you may want to address as well. But if you don't trust your partner enough to sit down and self-disclose, right? Then that's a problem.